अब न वो मैं, न वो तू है, न वो माजी है फराज, जैसे दो शख्स तमन्ना के सराबों में मिले. Good evening and welcome to 74th conversation of which you all are indelible, inseparable constituents, the complementary consorts. Uh, it won't be out of place to mention here that all the esteemed spectators, wonderful spectators, who have been with us through and through from the beginning of this program are the indelible strength, robust strength, and deep strength of Shitanath Conversations, Voyage, and Odyssey. I hope you're enjoying this Sunday very well, the supper time Sunday evening, 7 p.m. IST show, and you are enjoying the show also very well. I'm again grateful for all of you to be gluing again into today's program. That's so wonderful of you, and it gives us a kind of it creates a kind of an interactive. It adds on to our. I mean, we have very devoted and who adore this program, devoted section of spectators who adore this program, who are yes. I think you are back with your great, you know, fountain of enthusiasm and spirit uh, to have this once again have this candid, encounter with this treasure trove of our conversations of this the conversations of civilization, which is negated by these wonderful anecdotes. I think over the years we have been able to. I mean, since last 1 year, we have been able to go through and through this program, and I feel very much relished. And the whole cause and the purpose of this program is being accomplished as our team of research, as our visitors who are authentic, who have skills, who are brilliant people from the public life, and who speak with their first-hand encounters. And all these things are happening. And this is basically, a mosaic of anecdotes, wonderful, musical, uh, alluring, colorful anecdotes, and anecdotes which talk about the transitions, about the turbulences, about the monarchies, about the kingdoms, about the ancient, medieval, and the contemporary wisdoms, about literature, art. Uh, we all know about musicology, about architecture, about colors, about landscape, social landscape, cultural landscape, philosophical landscape, mystic landscape, and ecological landscape. All these landscapes probably are the part of this program, and we go through and through to the peaks, flora and fauna, cultures, hamlets, sleepy towns, villages, and the people, Kashmiris, Indian Kashmiris, who settle in the erstwhile undivided India in Jaipur, Lucknow, Calcutta, Meerut, Lahore. We also covered them. So I think this is a through and through program, and we are really enjoying it. And we talk about Kashmir, the cradle and cathedral, and crown, known as crown of India, Indian civilization, time immemorially. As per my memory goes, and as per my research goes, I think it was the year 1780 when the first article, first newspaper came into existence. It was probably its editor was James Augustum Hickey. James Augustum Hickey. Its name was Bengal Gazette. And just a 50 years down the line after it, in the aftermath of just 50 years, half a century, we had another wonderful Hindi, this newspaper, which started again in Calcutta, uh, now known as Kolkata. It was under the name of Unant Martand. That was the name title of the papers. Times have passed, decades have passed, centuries have transited from one particular contour to another particular contour. And we have seen from few number of newspapers which used to be there in the few centuries back. Now it is, we have an astronomical number of more than 1 lakh registered newspapers going along across the anatomy, length and breadth of India. So that is how it is. And we had the wonderful journalists in the period of the last 20th century. I mean, I cannot name everyone. I remember there are Anand Saab is there, Mr. Anand is there, Jacob is there, Arya is there, Neeraj Chakravarti is there. I mean, Dharamveer Bharti is there. Abdul Kalam Azad was there. And there were a great number of people. I mean, they were the people with astute personality, with wonderful personality, with unification of character and conduct. They wrote, their pen was very robust. It shook the empires and the establishments of those times, but it was all objective. It was not prejudiced. It was not subjective. And they were the great inspiring personalities. And, everything changed with the century, passage of century, for good and bad. It is all people who can decide and, decide whether it is good or bad. But there is a transition in every phase, from politics to literature to history to culture to research, and again to the journalism. In Kashmir, probably, it is said that there was one Munshi some Rai who started the first paper probably in 1828, and the first contemporary modern time paper is known as Vitasta, which was started by Premnath Bazaz, and then there were n number of papers succeeding to Premnath Bazaz Vitasta. There were n number of papers which came in down into the valley, and many papers. I think among those they continued, and we had this Hamdard, and later Hamdard, and Khidmat. Khidmat probably was the mouth organ of the earlier for the Congress, and then probably for this for national conference. But it was still an independent one. It had its own independent rating. It was it didn't allow it. It was even critical of its own bureaucrats and politicians, and they were like the great motorheads of their own times, and probably they were just landscaping the social landscape, social of the entire society, culture, politics, and other things. Uh, you must be knowing today we had started few weeks back. We had started the Unsung Maestros, a series, a conversation, in the name of Unsung Maestros of 20th Century. Today we are going to start with open up this program, this conversation, with a wonderful tribute, with a wonderful analysis, with the wonderful anecdotes about one among the tallest personality, most earliest, iconic personalities of journalism of modern Kashmir. I mean, the you know, robust robust pioneering pyre of journalism in Kashmir, and a very great veteran who had many wonderful shades, colorful shades. Probably he's forgotten before he's forgotten into the history. Today at Shidala's Conversations, I thought that to bring him alive and make your memories and reminiscences open up to this great legend, great son of Kashmir. He was known for his independent thinking, for his courage, for his wit and humor, and it was under the tutelage of hard taskmaster Premnath Bazaji that he grew, and ultimately he became a shining star of the foremost this galaxy of the earliest galaxy of this our scribe from Kashmir. And so to say that he used to rub his shoulders with Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, and then Ghulam Muhammad Sadiq and Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad, and these people, Shamlal Saraf, and many people like that, Abbas Sahab, and Masoodi Sahab, and all these kind of people he used to rub. But they later became they probably eclipsed the landscape, political landscape of the in the post-independence India, political landscape of Kashmir. They were the very powerful people who rose to the power centers, and probably it was a relationship before they rose to the power. So we are going to talk about him today. We are also going to talk some wonderful aspects about his personality, his personal encounters. It is said that he was a very handsomely looking person, and like the robust work he did, like the inspiring work he did, he also had an inspiring personality, and he liked the wonderful attires, and he liked the food and good voices and quality of life. All the aspects of life he loved very much, but he was very serious and very honest to his work, and a very disciplined person. uh, I think it is said that his editorials were being keenly awaited by all the sections of society, including the intelligentsia and people in the corridors of power. And then he was also a great war journalist who covered the 1947 aggression by the Pakistan on Kashmir state, and then 71 war, which was fast. Of result, Bangladesh was taken away from our neighbors because of their mischief, and then finally, and before that, 1965 war. And he was also a kind of a great. His voice was very well known for, they say, All India Radio, for countering the propaganda of Pakistan against the Kashmir, this side, Indian side of Kashmir. So that's all about. We can go on and on, but today we are very fortunate that we have with us a very, very close vicinity witness of his life, his own son, Vijay Vatalji, with us in the studio. And I remember Vijay Vatalji. My introduction to Vijay Vatalji is when I was just researching on the history of Amphala, and I didn't find any, because my research is always very deep, everybody knows. So I somewhere down the line, after a lot of struggle, I found his article, and it was so wonderful. He gave 100 years of history of institution. So I had a great regard for this man. I never knew he is son of Vatal Saab, and that article was wonderful. We had a program on Amphala, Kashmiri Pandit Sabha Amphala, and all these things came into that, and it became a kind of a reference article for many people around seeking the history. So I think he has some many, probably he will explain it, indelible properties, indelible, dimensions of his father inherited in him. So it's very great that he is in the studio. Let's welcome with great you know warmth and affection and reverence, son of the great pioneering pyre of Kashmiri journalism, Nand Lal Wattal Saab. Vatal Saab, you are welcome to the 74th Shitalath Conversation Show.
Thank you
Namaste.
so much, sir. Thank you. Should I start?
Yes. No, yes. Thank you very much. You are
Oh,
welcome. And
yeah.
I think I'm very thankful that you came. And before we start, I would like to say, कि before we divulge into the life and times of your great father, Nandal Vatal Saab, he was a treasure not for your family, for entire Kashmiri community, and who was forgotten into the history today. We're going to revive those memoirs. And before that, I would like that we normally, as per the paradigm structure of this program, we ask our guest to have a reminiscence of Kashmir as witnessed by him or her. So today you are here, so let's all see Kashmir through your prism of your childhood and later years. Please,
Okay.
sir, please elucidate.
Uh, Good evening, everybody who is watching this program, whether in India or abroad. Let me start with my childhood. We Vatals hail from Bagh Jogi Lanka Ranawadi, Srinagar. It was a big family living in two houses. So we were nearly 30 to 40 people living very nicely. Our two houses were on the banks of the Dal Lake tributary, which was called as Nalai Mar.
Mm.
And in both the houses, we had our these vegetable gardens. Our house, which was old time thing, we had this a nice uh, cooperation and nice uh, brotherhood among ourselves. So I started when I took the birth. It was late 1948, and then my childhood started with going to the school, Devi School, Ranawari. where from I graduated in matriculation, and from matriculation I went to SP College. So these were my personal. The childhood was very nice. So it was a very cheerful childhood, because we would naturally we would sit together after dinner, and all the people who were working younger to my father, they would assemble in one of the, as we called it, Vattu, or in summer it was Kani, the upper
Okay.
story. So we would discuss. We would wait for the father. Father would, my, as I will call it, he was popularly known as Wattal Saab. So
Okay.
Wattal, and we would wait for him. Everybody would wait for him to come and just share the anecdotes and interaction with him, whatever he had. So the evenings were very cheerful. We would have dinner, and after dinner we would sit together and then discuss. So father would just recall his days happenings and other things, then
Okay.
some jokes, anecdotes, whatever it was. Then he would ask everybody. Everybody was free to express his views and other things. Only thing is, my father had uh, advised all his younger brothers and elders not to make any sweeping comments
That's
on
so wonderful.
anybody, sweeping comment, nothing. जैसे होता है ना, वो चोर था, ये चोर था. No,
Subjectivity.
were we
Subjectivity.
were very much object to it. It was only, but just, yeah. Then my father would just start a discussion, which later on I came to know, because he would think what he is going to write the next day in his editorial. So he would just casually, unintentionally ask the family members about that problem and what were their views, and then he would assemble those views together and write on this thing on his own, giving his own view. That was, yeah, I went. So leaving this part, then I my
How are
childhood.
how was your relationship with your friends? How are the vicinity people around?
Yes,
What
we
else
had.
you
It
love
was a
Ranawadi?
Yes, it was a close family, our mohalla. So even our mohalla people, elders would come in the evening. So I have
Oh,
written a write-up that is Lakshman Ju's club. Lakshman Ju was our ancestor who had built this house. So I have written already. So they would wait. Just it was not a formal one. They would come and think that this is their own house. So we would be banned from going to that part of Kani or to Vattu. So
oh,
it was after 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, it was out of bounds for the children. So they would wait for the arrival of my father, just listen to him, ask him, express their own views, and just be very comfortable in their way of life. So they were our immediate neighbors. They would come, and they had this. We had this thing that whether it was something good or it was something bad, it was, they would come and we would just share those moments of good or bad. That was the family and the mohalla structure around us.
mm.
So my
Please
childhood,
listen.
yes.
Yes, please continue. Please continue. You are an
So
institution. After,
I
yeah.
I started my educational career from DAV High School, Renawadi, which was in our neighborhood. So again, the school was on the tributary of the Dal Lake with a
Uh-huh.
huge orchard uh, garden, and there we had great teachers, though they were poorly paid, but they had this thing in their mind that they should impart good education, good manners in their students. So we were quite fortunate. I really thank them. I really what we are today, what I am today. I can't say about other what I am today. I think the base has been made by those teachers, eminent teachers. Though they were quite, though they were not very highly qualified, but they had this thing that these children, they are not somebody's children, they are our own children, and they would impart essence, sincere things in us. So that was our. So I passed my matriculation from that school, and then I went to SP College. My career started. It was not a smooth run for me. A checkered career, started with marketing, then a short stint with journalism at Delhi for, and then ultimately it was the social service, uh, into which when I retired from active. During this time, during my uh, after migration,
No,
into
actually, Wadal Sahab, I would like to go back to Kashmir because our first program, your
huh,
program is on your great father. But
yeah,
before that,
yes,
I would like to you, आप कुछ बताइए ना. Tell us something about the festivals, how you celebrated festivals, where did you go for the morning
yes,
obeisance,
I
and
would, yeah, thank you
all
very
those
much. I
excursions,
will let you
waterways.
know about our family, how we celebrated Shivratri. We would,
Okay,
the Shivratri days would start 3 days before the actual one. It was on 11th, 12th, and 13th. It was like that. This is
okay,
strictly about ourselves. Then on 12th and 13th, we would early in the morning, the elders would just wake us up and ask us to go to Hari Parvat to have around. 12th, and we had some puja. The Panditji would come during the daytime and hold the puja. And that day, in our house, we had nadru and non-veg mutton. Uh, the 13th was, we would celebrate it late in the evening. The Panditji would come and hold the puja. All would be just watching the puja in both the houses. That was Shivratri, and again it was lot of non-veg and fish. The
okay.
next day, what we call as salam, we
Salam.
had a wonderful experience. I don't think that experience is with any other household. The children would go and the younger would just touch the feet of the elders. That was
Okay.
our yeah, this thing.
Tradition.
It was the beginning of the day, and we would just the two houses in the morning. The tea and snacks would come from our house to their house, and in the afternoon, their tea and snacks would come from that house. So it was like that we started
Thank you.
this, we celebrated this
Thank you. Thank you.
Shivratri.
शिवरात्रि.
Then
Thank you
I
very much.
come to Baisakhi.
अभी हम लोग क्या
Today,
करेंगे, we'll just what will we do, we'll talk about your father, and later on you can just again revive these reminiscences because father
okay,
was part of your family, yeah.
okay.
We'll just begin
So
with I would like to say Nand Lal Wattal is considered to be one of the pioneering pyre of Urdu journalism in Kashmir because he was
I
with the Hamdard, he was with the
I
Hamdard,
will start with his.
yeah,
My
and then
father, Nand Lal
yes,
Wattal, was born to a family of Wattal in 1916. Uh,
right,
then he went, his primary education was mission school, Fateh Kadal. Then when my grandfather was transferred to Muzaffarabad, so for 3 or 4 years, he studied in Muzaffarabad. Returning back to Srinagar, he again joined mission school Fateh Kadal, where he passed the matriculation under Punjab University in a very brilliant way, and then joined SP College. Again, he passed his graduation very brilliantly. It will be interesting to know for the viewers that when the convocation was held, he was awarded the degree certificate by none other than Maharaja
Maharaja.
Hari Singh himself.
Ah,
He
I've
had
heard about this.
since he was very handsome. I don't know, but Maharaja he asked him, "What you want to do after graduation? Do you want to join the government service?" He politely said, "Sir, no. I will join journalism." Little did the Maharaja know that this shy young man would make his night sleepless in the coming days. So that was his way of. In 1939, he joined Hamdard, which
Hamdard.
was owned jointly by Sheikh Mahmud Abdullah and Pandit Premnath
Jannat
Bazaz.
Bazaz.
So it will be interesting again to know that when father went to for the this employee, Pandit Bazaz asked him to write. He was put to a sort of test. He had to write something, and then it was after approval. Pandit Bazaz took him as sub-editor on a paltry sum of rupees 20 per month, which was quite
Which
reasonable
year? Which,
for
which
those
year?
days.
Which year was this?
It was 1939. It was
Arre,
1930. And
19.
again, yeah, some interesting thing. He was accompanied by his very close friend called P.N. Cole. In Kashmiri, their surname was Bamsoot, but they
Ah,
would call right P.N. Cole. So he accompanied him. He was just a matriculate, but they had quite close relation. He was
close relation.
accompanying him while he appeared for the test before Bazar Sahib. Then, after finishing the test, Bazar Sahib asked my father, "Who is this other gentleman?" He told him that he is a friend of mine. He has come to accompany me to this place. So, Bazar Sahib, he would say that, "Yeah, well, little thought, you are also appointed on 10 rupees." Only thing is that during the daytime, when my lunch comes from my home, you will also be getting that lunch. So that started his career
We'll
in
have a
journalism.
separate program on
Yeah.
PN Bazaz. Actually, your interview will also unravel some dimensions of PN Bazaz.
So,
Yes.
so
Yes.
as father would say, Wattal Sahab would say that it was very difficult to serve under Bazaz Sahab. Bazaz Sahab himself was a very hard taskmaster.
Taskmaster.
He would not allow any grass to grow under the feet of his subordinates. The
That's
other
it.
other people would stay there for some time and leave. They would not stay there for a long time. He was the sub editor. The other people were Sri Jagannath Sathu, an eminent journalist
Yes. Yes.
of Daily Telegraph London and New York Times. The other one, third one was Shri Makhanlal Meher, a great poet, quite
Yes,
humorous
yes, yes.
poet.
Just come again. I have just heard about this fight. About his he was a kind of a, I heard about his language was very different. It was very sarcastic.
Yes, he had a humor, great humor.
Great
Makhanlal
humor.
Meher call.
I have,
So
yeah, I've heard about it.
he was. They were the people who would. Then relations between Sheikh Muhammad Abdul and oh, sorry, before I come to that, my father was also an eyewitness when Muslim conference was converted to national
National
conference in
conference,
the Anantnag Convention.
because Bazaz was the main constituent of that, no?
Yes, he also contributed to it. It was his idea that it should not be made for only for one community. All the communities should be allowed to join it, and that will make it quite secular. In the meantime, with the passage of time, 1 or 2 years, it is said, Bazaz Sahab and Sheikh Abdullah fell apart. Not only fell apart, they became bitter opponents.
It was because of ideology or
It
diversion,
was
something.
ideology. Yes, it was because of ideology and nothing else. Bazar Sahab formed his own this party that was called Kisan Mazdoor Party.
Yes, I've heard about.
And Sheikh Fulal, it was national conference, obviously. And it went on. The paper, Hamdard, would attack day and night this national conference leaders, including Sheikh Abdullah, the thing.
It was
Whereas this thing
it
was
was
happening,
also
it
just a
was
minute.
liked by his Sheikh Abdullah's opponent Mir Wise.
Okay.
So the paper sold like hotcakes downtown in
Downtown.
Mirwais constituency. So that that was he.
It was Mirwai's
Yes,
father. Mirwai's father,
yes,
Mirwais. And
yes.
what was
Grandfather, no, no, no,
grandfather?
grandfather,
Grandfather. What
grandfather.
was the time? It was a pre-partition time. Which year? Which
It
decade?
was it was say between 1942 to 1947. During this
Oh,
period, it was the freedom movement was at its peak in India,
national.
and so it had its repercussions in J&K also, where some where people were against the autocratic Dogra rule. In the meantime, just to add to the information, communist leader BPL Bedi happened to come to Srinagar,
Now, who framed this?
and he just uh,
Constitution.
as got some young men, and they formed a sort of progressive group, which afterwards was called as Communist Party of India. So he, as well as his wife Freda Bedi, they all
Federalism.
came, both of them, and stayed in the valley for some years. And there is a school of thought that uh, Naya Kashmir manifesto was written by BPL Bedi and Freda Bedi.
No, it is true. It is true. I have
So,
confirmed it from
uh,
many sources.
no, I said that this is one school of thought.
Okay.
And the association of my father with Bazar Sahab lasted till 1946. And they also fell out.
It was just a minute. I want to ask. थोड़ा सा बताइए बाजार साहब के बारे में. Was he very authoritative or uncompromising that people fell apart from Bazar Sahab? What was it?
No, no. Actually, what happened was he was a very hard taskman. People were not used to his hard. So, and then the money also was a little low. So they would prefer to look for government jobs, etc., etc. They were not like my father who wanted to be a journalist for all the time to come. So it was like that. So
Hmm.
the point of difference came. My maternal grandfather and his friends, they started a newspaper called Navyuk.
Navayug, yes. I have heard
Yes.
about it.
So
Yeah.
since my father was in journalism for the years since 1939, they asked him his advice and suggestions, which he gave. Bazar Sahab came to know that he is, so he called my father that and telling him that it is not fair that you should work here and advise and suggest to our, so to say, rival newspaper. In the meantime, my father said, okay, sir, I will not. Again, there were some vested interests
Hmm.
who just went to Bazar Sahab saying, nahi sahab, wo फिर से जाते हैं, he advises them and this and that. So one in 46, Bazar Sahab again called my father, telling him, थोड़ा सा raised voice में that it is not good that you work here and you advise. My father said, I have already told you that I have left, I don't give them. He would not listen to it. My father said, if you don't trust me, so I leave here and now.
Okay. So that made a change. He departed from Hamdard and Bazar Sahab.
And then he joined Now You. They say then the staff of Hamdard later on told Wattal Sahab that Bazar Sahab repented on it. He said he has committed a mistake. He did not trust Mr. Wattal, but nonetheless, he will come after 3 days.
Hmm.
Mr. Cole, you will be surprised to know those 3 days they never came till it was 20, more than 20 years. So now you, it became my father, since he was independent of his views, so they supported national conference.
Your
In the
father.
meantime, I would again, as you have said, that there should be some anecdote. Sheikh Abdullah had a Tonga
Yes, I
while
want to know this.
going back to, yes. So he would, since he would come to the office of Hamdar in the evening and ask Mr. Wattal, भाई आपको जाना है चलो मैं आपको वहाँ शिराज तक छोड़ दूंगा. Later on Shiraz, not it was called Khaniar, because we lived in Ranawadi and he had to go to Soura. So
Okay.
that was a very close relationship with Sheikh Mahmud
Inside.
Abdullah. He respected him, and in the meantime, also there were other leaders who would come to Bazar Sahab's office, like Sheikh Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad, G.M. Sadiq, Saeed Mir Qasim,
Masudi.
uh, S.L. Saraf, D.P. Dar. So these were all who were supposed. Nobody knew that they will be somebody after
Yeah,
47.
they would
They would
just
come and sit.
rise to
So
the.
yeah, that was, they had a very cordial, informal way. Back almost you can say that my father had a backslapping relation with them, except of course Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah, who was quite elder to him.
Taller and
So
elder.
you can say that he had a backslapping relation.
Okay.
तो इस तरह से after now you he came the raid. There were only three local newspaper reporters who were based in Srinagar. One was Shri R.K. Kak, the other was Shri S.P.
English.
Shah. They were the only three local till the other reporters from Delhi and other things came. They were the only three reporters to report this thing. In fact, all the three were taken to Udi front, where they covered with then Major General Thimaya, who later on became the general of the
General.
army. So they had this thing, and with 47, as you know, when Maharaja left, and
Before that, I would like to say something. As you talked about one anecdote about Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah, I want to, I mean, you to go back to some of the anecdotes. We'll come down to the war journalism part of it later. That's a very wonderful area, and I love this war journalism because I have been myself a ferocious reader of Second World War, First World War, and war journalism is the most challenging job of a journalist, especially in those days when communication was not that swift, that brilliant. Tell us something more, some more anecdotes about other people who later on eclipsed the landscape of this entire subcontinent in Kashmir in the post-independent India. Like you name few people right now. Any other anecdote you want you can
uh,
recollect?
and I will just tell you one anecdote, but it is not related to the leader. There was
Okay,
a tussle between the two newspapers, one headed by Premnath Bajaj, the other one was Martin, headed by Premnath Khanna.
Premnath Khanna. Okay,
Uh, well, I don't have any idea what was the point of difference. So Kanna Sahab, my father would say they would always write quite abusive language and this and against Bazar Sahab. Bazar Sahab was a very serious person, so he only retaliated by writing in a single sentence, लटर जर्नलिज्म की गटर जबान का जवाब है खामोशी.
okay,
He would never write anything against him, but only every day if there was one thing, so it would come that latter journalism ki gutter zaban ka jawab hai khamoshi. Then during this time, father had the opportunity of meeting uh, Jihna Chaudhry Ghulam Abbas. Chaudhry Ghulam Abbas was, as everybody knows, he was a very leading Muslim leader of
yeah.
this Jammu, who later on became the chief prime minister of POK. Uh,
Pakistan Azad. Yeah.
about him, father would say that we would write. all Jammu National Conference ke leader Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah. So he called. Matal Sahab would say that he called me one day, कहा वातल साहब आप इतना बहुत नहीं कीजिए, ये आदमी जो है ये लीडर है खनबल से खादिनियार तक, ये बस इतना ही लिख लीजिए, ये खान डोंट राइट टू ऑल जम्मू व कश्मीर, नो ही इज नॉट, ये सिर्फ खनबल से खादिनियार तक के लोगों का लीडर है और कुछ नहीं.
But I
Then
think because of rivalry. Sheikh Omar Abdullah, no doubt, was a great leader at that point of time.
uh,
But they had a
it
rivalry.
was
They had a rivalry. Yeah.
they had a rivalry because Jammu Muslims, they thought again कि ये वो जो वैली के मुस्लिम है ये वही वो हतो टाइप के हैं. सो दे वर ए लिटिल जरा थोड़ा सा वो अपने आप को समझते थे, दीज पंजाबी मुस्लिम्स दे वुड थिंक ए लिटिल
जम्मू
हायर.
में तो जम्मू में पंजाबी मुस्लिम्स वर वेरी लिटिल. यहाँ पे मैक्सिमम गुजर्स
हाँ
पहाड़ीज थे, मोस्टली
हाँ
पहाड़ीज.
हाँ.
दे वर इवन बैकवर्ड देन द कश्मीरी मुस्लिम्स. वैसा नहीं
तो
था. बट एनीवे इट वाज अ राइवलरी एंड इट वाज एन एट्रीब्यूट. Anybody can attribute whatever he wants to. Yeah. Yeah.
तो जिन्ना while talking to Jinnah, uh, my father would say that we asked him about Sheikh Mohammed. He said that what do you say? It is a Gunda moment. It is not like, who said that it is a moment for freedom. It is a Gunda moment. And if we come here, if we own this state, we will put Sheikh Abdullah behind the bars. And that was the reason when 47 raids happened, Sheikh Abdullah sent his entire family to Indore. During that raid period, Sheikh Abdullah's family was at Indore simply to escape the wrath of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, because as you know that he was quite
Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah stood by what Nehru told him, and they stood like for India, for nationalism.
so
Anyway, that's another story. I want to ask about your fathers. And I mean, did he meet Jinnah? Did he meet Sadiq Saab, Bakshi Saab? What are the anecdotes there?
yeah. It
Yeah,
was
please.
not because they were not that much. It was
Close.
only Sheikh Abdullah would eclipse all those leaders. So they were just
Jinnah was a
small
tall
type
leader. He
of.
was a tall
Uh,
leader, very high.
so
Yeah.
as I said that they were all on backslapping with my father. Nobody knew that these people will be chief ministers after 1947. Nobody knew it. But one thing is there, Kolsa, all
Yes.
these leaders, while they accepted it, this support that
Hmm.
Mr. Wattal gave in his paper Navyug, they did not forget it. After when the raid was taking place, he was made chief propaganda officer of the JNK because Radio Kashmir happened to come in 1948.
Yes, I have heard that he was a main voice. He stood against
Yes.
that propaganda of
Huh.
Pakistanis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One he was on alter days. I would come to know on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Whereas Bashir Bhatt and Mahendra Nath Kohl, they had a sort of conversation, or rather, this it was called as Zarb Kalim.
Zarbik.
So they were again. It was against a propaganda against those that Tradkhal Marka radio station of POK. So इस तरह से he became a sort of a household name in J&K. Next, when
And he also wrote. He didn't write. He wrote anonymous under an anonymous name title. I heard that he was not. It was not his own name he put on this title.
Watal
Yeah.
Sahab, yes, he would
Okay.
write central page articles under the head name of Iblis ki diary. Iblis, I think it means Satan, Shaitan.
Title.
And then
Shaitan.
he would also write humor column under
I heard
Chingaria.
about
Chingaria.
Ching-
Chingaria.
Chingaria. Okay.
So again, as S.P. Sahani Sahab in his book says that
Sani sir.
when Sheikh Abdullah became the Prime Minister of J&K, the cabinet would meet in Palladium Cinema. Palladium Cinema became the Prime Minister's office. And
Okay.
as I quote S.P. Sahni's book, that there were three journalists who would come daily for a briefing. It was Shri R.K. Kak, Shri S.P. Sahni, and Nand Lal Wattal. They were the only three journalists who would come for that briefing, where Sheikhullah would hold a sort of cabinet meeting. That was 1947, 48. He became, after that, he was, one day as he was in Nauvoo, he was asked by Maulvi Said, again a very tall leader, quite
That's
a
right.
right-hand man of Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah and General Secretary of National Conference. He called Watal Sahab ki, you come to Mujahid Manzil, because Mujahid Manzil was the headquarter of National Conference.
Yes, yes, it is very famous
So
for that.
father would say that when he went to Mujahid Manzil, it was Khidmat was also located there in that building. कहा कि Maulvi Said just took him around the office. He introduced him to the editorial people of Khidmat, and then ultimately he came to a room. कहा, now you sit in this, just sit in this chair. तो उन्होंने कहा reluctantly, how can I sit? कहा, no, no, you sit there. And as Watal Sahab would say that when I sat in this chair, then Maulvi Said said, you will never now rise from it. You are the chief now.
Editor of Khidmat.
Yes. This started his career in 1948. Then the office of Khidmat was shifted to the Daily Band building, which was previously which housed DAV College.
Okay.
It was on the Band, overlooking the Jhelum River or Vitasta, whatever you may call.
Beautiful place. That's a
Ye-
wonderful place.
Yes.
Landscape is so pure,
And
serene.
this Khidmat had a huge garden with four huge chinars.
Okay.
So they would come so like that. Uh, it was quite a nice place. As till 1990, my father, uninterrupted, he held the office of chief editor till 1990, when when we people migrated to the other, any other thing.
I would like to recall the Khidmat days. I would like to say because Khidmat was a mouth organ of the ruling party.
Huh,
Earlier, it was
I will
that of
come to
Congress.
that. I will
And
come to that.
one question before that. Let me complete my question first. Is that while being in Khidmat, there must be some anecdotes, but I heard that the man of his integrity, his honesty, he would not bow down under any establishment
That's
pressure
correct.
or
I
bureaucratic
will
pressure.
come to that.
Please
Sorry.
tell us. Please
Take
illustrate.
it.
Yeah.
After he took over as chief editor of the Daily Khidmat, his assistants were, as you, I will just let name. It was Professor Rahman Rahi, then Muhammad Amin Pandit, who retired as Joint Director Information, Ghulam Nabi Turi, Deputy Director Information, then Bansi Nirdosh, quite an author, and
Once in a while.
of who shifted to Radio Kashmir, Sophie Ghulam Muhammad, who then after leaving Khidmat, he started his own paper, Srinagar Times. Ghulam Rasool Urfani, he again shifted and then started his own newspaper, that was Apna Sansar. And above all, I forgot the one name, that is Mr. Ved Basin of Kashmir
Yes,
Times,
yes. Ved
who
Wasim.
was who was representing Khidmat in Jammu. That is how this was. My father, he would start his day in Khidmat after 12 o'clock. In the morning, he would write his editorial in his home. And because he thought, he would say that editorial is the most important part of any newspaper, and it has to be given a very serious thought before it is it gets it is printed, in the newspaper. So he would say, after coming to the office, since he had acquired a lot of this experience expertise in newspaper, so he would just uh, bring the rough copy, make the layout and this and with this he would start the day. His office was open to anybody. His office was open to anybody. Anybody would come and meet him. He was a great listener. He was a great listener.
That's a
That is
great
why
point.
he said that a journalist should have his eyes and ears open
Open.
always. He should not say his own. He should just listen what the other person is saying. So that
I'm just
was.
asking about, let's go back to my core question, that while being in Khidmat, which was part of the national conference and national conference was the government, did he had any tussle and casuals with any bureaucrat or any politician which who
I
didn't
will
like his writing? Yeah,
actually, when he came to Khidmat, so generally it is thought that spokes this a newspaper having alliance to the newspaper, it becomes it is mouthpiece.
mouthpiece.
He did not allow it. He had his own views. He
Mm.
was because the leaders who had become the rulers, they could
They were
not
part
say because they knew him before 47. So they were not rough with him, and he also held his own ground. It was openly said that Khidmat is the fiefdom of Anal Wattal. Nobody is Everybody is out of bonds for it. Nobody. So he had his own views of all that he was, that he I would just uphold the integrity of J&K with India, and nothing, I will not budge from it.
compromise on that. Yes.
Yes, I will not buy from. He would not get dictations. He would not get dictation. As eminent journalist Sham Cole said, that ministers would come to his office. He would not go to any minister. Then he would only go to meet the chief minister when he was called. Otherwise, he would not. He had his own way. He is, as I told you, that they called because they do not like, particularly because he was Nand Lal Wattal. They did not financially. They never, the party, National Conference, and later on Congress. They never financially gave any support to Khidmat. Mr. Wattal made it a self creating. They had advertisement representatives based in Bombay who would get so the finances would come from, and revenue would come from. There were at least 30 to 40 people working in daily khidmat or any time. That was his way of working with it, and uh, it it was not, he was not liked by the he had no tussle, but he was not liked also because he would not go and meet them at their offices and this, and
Sycophants.
nor
Yes.
did he in his lifetime ask for himself. He never asked for himself, and that was the hallmark why he kept his head high and his
This is what
spine.
I'm going to add on one question with this. I heard that he had a very humble background because he started with some. I mean, I don't know. He was brought up by his uncle or something like that, and
Hmm.
then he took up a job of a journalist. He could have taken up a job, some lucrative
Yes.
job, as people was. And being a journalist, running a household, and being I mean, astute to your own legacy, your own character and conviction, these three things, how did they go with him? Because you are the part of the family. Yeah.
Well, actually, we were not having, yeah, let us be very clear about it. Uh, we were not having a luxurious lifestyle. It was just as ordinary people, two
Everybody.
times meal, and then he had his two brothers and a sister. He educated them, then he married off his sister. So, like that. And then his father, he was a health department employee, a compounder. So that was our family. Then he, as I said, that there was nothing special or luxurious. It was just an ordinary, any other person would be.
Yes, it was like all other people, like Bazar
Yes.
Sahib. Even I've heard all people. They were all the Kashmiri Pandits mostly were Kashmiris rather, general Kashmiris, or rather all Indians in that time. They were middle class and lower middle class. Anyway,
There was, huh.
yeah. I would
Yes,
like to
yes.
say, yes. First of all, I would like to ask you one thing because you don't come out with any anecdote, some special thing which might have happened against his principles with the governing bodies. Anyway, let's pass that question. But I like to ask one thing that what was he was a great war journalist, and war journalism is not an ordinary thing.
Yes.
People with great ears and eyes and brilliance and they could sustain the vulnerability, go beyond their means. Then they can cover, especially the 47. So there must be great anecdotes you must have heard from your father, and you must be knowing about them. Let's begin with 1947 Kabali raid and other things. Yeah,
Well, as he would say that the three of them went to Udi front, stayed there for some days, but nothing. There is no anecdote because war was not the time for anecdotes.
no,
All
no. I
that
mean,
they would say.
his
Huh.
observation as a
It was
journalist. Yeah,
only an observation, and then they would
yes.
come back and write down.
Stories,
As
stories. Yeah.
as S.P. Sahni has also written in his book that they were the only three journalists who would cover the war. Then, as I come back slightly, you said that whether he had some anecdote. You know, when Bakshi Ghulam Mahmud was ousted from his post as those days it was called the prime minister, and then
Yeah.
James Sadiq took over.
Yes.
Mr. Wattal took the side of he supported James Sadiq.
Okay. Was he a
He
socialist? Your father was a
no
socialist,
no
communist?
huh?
Was
He
a,
was not.
Achha, okay.
I will come to that. So
Okay.
he took the side of he supported James Sadiq against Bakshi, with whom he had quite good relation. So after when during after some time, some few days, Bakshi happened to come to his office along
Okay.
with Ghulam Nabi Sogami,
Ghulam Nabi Yusuf.
who
Yes.
was a minister in Bakshi Ghulam Ahmad's region.
क्या बात है
Ye-
सुगामी बख्श साहब की
हाँ
मेहरबानी.
हाँ जी हाँ तो ये
Great.
वो आगे and then he asked Mr. Sir वातल साहब आप GM सादिक को सपोर्ट करते हो कहा he is the chief minister so I have to support you. कौन सा चीफ मिनिस्टर कहा you have proposed his name I have not proposed I
Yeah.
was not in the party you have proposed कहा थोड़ा सा हो गया जरा गर्मा गर्मी हो गई गुलाम नबी वानी सोगामी ही ट्राइड टू पैसिफाई थिंग्स तो उसने कहा वकील साहब कोई बात नहीं है अब हमने वो बादल साहब को समझा वो अब कहा बख्शी टोल्ड हिम गुलाम नबी when do you know since when you have known Nand Lal Wattal अगेन ही सर वो हम यहाँ मोमेंट में थे ना वो 47 कहा I know Mr. Anil Wattal from since 1939 who
Yeah.
worked under Bajaj. He is a person. You can't change his mind. He does not want me. He does not want to support me, and he will never support me onwards.
True to
Khatam.
his conviction. Yeah.
So nothing. So he was. That was one thing. Yes. Then as you said that his relations with the chief minister, he was after Sheikh Abdullah, it was suspected that he is Sheikh Abdullah's man because he had quite close relations with Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah.
Mm.
He barely escaped by the skin of his teeth. Then, when he did not go to Gulmarg when he was arrested there, Sheikh Abdullah. Just
Mm.
he, well, because there were Jain Zutshi, R.C. Raina, Shamlal Wat. So they were all along with this Sheikh Abdullah. They were arrested. He escaped because he had not gone. Bakshi's thought that because that there were other vested interests everywhere they said that he is a man close to Sheikhullah. So Bakshi never trusted him for several months till he came to know that no, he is he
Man of
supports
his own
me, and
conviction.
then he had so much of close relations with Bakshi, as I may say it, that Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi would come almost every year to Srinagar during the summer time in his period. So apart from the public, this government receptions and this and that sort of, Bakshi would hold a strictly private dinner in honor of Pandit Nehru and Indira Gandhi. It was only attended by his close kith and kin in his own building, sitting. It was not on table. It was typical Vazwan style.
Was one
And,
style.
and the only journalist who was invited was Nand Lal Wattal. The
Okay.
only journalist.
Unblemished carrier, man of
Yes,
conviction, man of
yes.
stature. Yeah. And you let's come to the war scenario again first. I'm a very a very old movie buff of Second World War. So war, I want to know more. So let's know. I'm not asking for the anecdotes. I'm
Hmm.
asking for his covering the war, 1947. You must be in know of many things which he wrote in those days.
Uh, कौन सा मैं 47 I was never not born at all.
You were not
So
born there, but later on.
afterwards, whenever I don't think he talked much about it, nor did I ask him this
Okay.
thing because something this was ये हमने सुना था बाद में when we grew कि 1948 में 47 में रेड हो गया था कुछ हो गया था. So I did not.
चलिए चलिए let's
Another,
pass it.
should
Let's
I
pass
should
it.
I say another thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, when Awami Raj, as they would call it, when Sheikhullah came to power, when Awami Raj came to power,
Mm.
they issued orders that every school in J&K, government school in J&K and Panchayat should subscribe to daily khidmat. So
Mm.
in this way, daily khidmat went to the nook and corner of J&K state, and in fact, I can say with small pride that Vatal Sahab became the household name because, in addition to being the editor of Khidmat, he was also on the radio for almost three times a week. So that is how he became the household name in the valley and as well as in Jammu.
Okay. So that's fine. That's wonderful. As an observer of his write-ups, as a son also, I would like you to say something about his style of writing. What was it distinctive from the others that made him unparalleled?
कौल साहब मैं एक चीज बताऊं as a journalist he was never a friend or foe of anybody.
Okay.
Whenever he wrote, it was unbiased. It was not biased for or tilt towards one thing or towards other thing. It was on whatever he thought that was correct. He would write it without being scared that this man will get he will be वो नाराज हो जाएंगे कुछ हो जाएंगे. He never cared for that. He would write what he thought was correct. He never bothered about other things.
Okay.
And it will be interesting to know whenever he would write against anybody, any politician or any bureaucrat, and when there used to be many parties and other things, he would make it a point to sit with on that table where on about whom he had written a few days or a month back in his newspaper. So there was nothing like that personal uh,
No personal
uh,
thing,
friendship
objectivity.
or enmity. It was not.
Okay. That's
Then
so.
during Bakshi's time, he would go to Jammu for about 2 months to cover the assembly sessions. And also, uh, viewers would like to know that he would prepare for several years, he prepared the budget speech of Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad in Jammu.
Oh, that's so wonderful to know.
Yes.
Anyway, that's so wonderful. We talked about his career, his life, his relationship. I would like to say, as a father, let's talk about domestic side of domestic versions of his personality. I heard that he was well. He used to enjoy life very much. He liked
Oh,
all
yes.
wise life, and he lived a disciplined life. Tell us about his daily routine and his relationship, social
Yes.
relationship with society, other than journalist or the
Actually, he
or
was a
politician.
humble man, humble person, not any person at the age of 30 years in 1947 with so much of nearness to the seat of power
Corridors of
get
power.
would get this in his head. He never got it. He was a humble person, never just he had his feet firmly on the ground. There was nothing like arrogance or ego in his part. In his family, he just in the evening he would share body jokes and other things with all members, whether they were younger to him or senior to him. So he would we would wait, the whole family, as I said, would wait for his arrival and just share whatever he had. Then we had his another thing was that since we had a vegetable garden in front of our house,
Okay.
so it was the rule of the house that every Sunday, early in the morning, everybody had to get up, whether he was a child or an elder, and he has to go to the vegetable garden and do some work there in the vegetable, which he himself would also take. And
Mm.
also, when his my mother was alive, he would go to Hari Parbat every day. He was an early riser. He would get up at about 4:30, which he continued till his death. So he would just go to Hari Parvat, make a round, and come back. When his wife was alive, my mother was alive.
Okay. So there's a comment by Jyotsi Saab. I normally don't subscribe and put comments into the program, but
Uh,
now Jyotsi Saab is one of the, I mean, great ingredient of Shidal of conversations.
uh,
He has said that he has a compliment that you smile like your father, and he has also said that I am not Motto, I am Jutsi. And
Zuthi, yes, uh,
anyway,
Professor B.L. Vansila Zuthi, yes,
I heard that he used to go early in the morning along with his the wife to the Hari Parvat, which was a
yes,
tradition in all Kashmiris.
yes, yes,
It
yes.
was a walk
Till
exercise.
till my mother was alive, then he stopped. Then
Okay.
he did not go. And also, then in late 70s, early 80s, we shifted from Ranawari to Government Colony, where he built his own house in the
Yeah, I've heard
Government
about
Colony,
it.
Rawalpora. It was his choice. He very much liked the design and other things. He would sit in the veranda, just watch birds and other things, greenery. He was very fond of greenery, flowers, especially rose. Every time, black
Rose.
rose, this rose, war rose. He was very fond of it. He was really very fond of
That's so great about him.
it.
And I have heard that he enjoyed and he lived a very robust life. He never fell sick or ill. I've heard about this also.
Never, 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 never. Yes, only one surgery he had, that was for appendicitis.
Okay, that must have been in younger days.
Yes, that was the only thing that. Otherwise, till his death, no tests, no X-rays, no doctors, nothing.
That's
Yes,
so.
he lived a very nice life. Very, as his daughter wrote, that was he was born without disease and he left this world without diseases.
That's so wonderful. Great.
Yes.
What was the age when he left this world?
He was 81. It was 1997.
And
in Jammu.
what impact did it had? It actually affected the entire landscape of Kashmiri Pandits when they migrated. Mass migration happened, exodus happened in '90. What what did
Ac-
it? How did it affect his impressionate mind and psyche? Was
Actually,
there yeah,
Kol
disturbed?
Sahab,
Yeah,
Kol Sahab, when he shifted from Srinagar to Jammu, he had he did not get into sort of depression, but he took it as life would come. And then he was given a good company in Jammu by his old colleagues and like Ved Basin, etc., those people. So, and even he would go to the Congress office sometimes. So, he had a good life there. And moreover, he was kept busy by uh, Mohanlal Kaul happened to be the
All India
special
Radio,
correspondent of All India
All India
Radio
Radio. Yes,
in J&K.
great
And
man.
then he had become the director of news in Delhi. He
Yes, I
asked
know.
Watul Sahab to write against this terrorism. So Mr. Watul said that I will write it, but my name should not be put on the air. So
Title.
he would write against terrorism. That was one thing. Continued, and then Radio Jammu, they also asked him to write about the problems faced by Jammu city. So he would, till his death, he would be a journalist and a journalist till his death.
Agile and active.
Yes.
So, with that wonderful thing, I would like to say we had a very nice session today, and we knew some. It's very difficult to go to the entire periphery of a landscape of a life, but then again, whatever possible we could gather about this great man. I think people, it must have gone away from the memories of the people. That's why this Shitala's conversation brought this program alive with you today.
Here I will add a sentence, parting sentence.
Yes, please.
We had, I think, we are all Kashmiri Pandits. In the valley, I don't know, Kashmiri Pandits had a sort of अरे ये कांग्रेसी है ये कुछ है
वो
ये
आदत
ऐसे
पुरानी है.
that was it. But let me tell you, he never was in any party. He would say, yes, I am the editor of the paper, but I am only a lawyer. I am holding, as a lawyer would ask, brief, or he would defend his client in the court. So I am doing that thing.
Discreet
I
and
don't.
unbiased.
I don't belong to any ideology, neither to Congress, nor to communism, neither to anything. He was independent of that.
That's so wonderful.
Uh,
Hello, with that, we'll come to close this evening, and it was wonderful talking to you. And I wish that you live with those great memories. And today
Thank
you
you.
refreshed your memories with all of us. Thank you very much. It was an interesting listening, Batal Saab. Uh, Thank you very much.
In
God bless.
fact,
Best wishes.
I would just like to add something. What he
Yes, please.
uh, one day I had a dream. I
Okay.
saw my father. I told him that अरे we have now वो वहाँ बिल्कुल खत्म हो गया है कुछ लोग हम फैमिली में इधर हैं उधर कहा मैंने कहा our children or grandchildren they would not know who were our ancestors what to do with it.
Mm.
He told me write it down. I was dreaming. It was not a.
It
Then
was,
I
yeah,
came and
Indian level.
I have
Yes.
written my memories of 6 generations of my family.
Mm.
It is called as Vatals of Ranavari. And then another thing that I have compiled whatever I wrote since 1991 on different issues, on different aspects. I have compiled them and they are in my system. Maybe God willing,
Most
I
splendid.
may,
Actually, I tell you,
I may publish them in a book.
that's good. That's wonderful.
In
Actually,
fact,
this also happened.
I have thought about the title of the other also, that from the diary of scoundrel and scalawag.
Oh, that's a wonderful dialogue. Wonderful title, rather. I do have a large body of articles because I was a theatre critic. I've written for 40 years, but it's all scattered. So some all the friends, my friends from Valley, जुगल से कर ले खक्तला ये कर combine इतने जबरदस्त articles है मैं क्या करूँगा poetry है compile कर मैं क्या यार क्या करना so it happens but I wish that you do it earlier and so that people know more about your articles because one article which I have read it was up to my taste and up to my standard so that's why I could understand what is the depth of Nandal Vatal Saab's son. So that's why I brought you today, and we are very delightful that you came.
I
Thank
have
you very
written
much.
some. I have written some write-ups for those people unsung and unwept. Like Pandit Premnath Bazar is not liked by our community in any
He
way.
was liked by no one, no one, no one.
Then Shri R.K. Kaur, Dian of this
Arke Kakbe, I'm doing a program soon.
journalism.
Yeah, I'll
Two.
do a program on him.
Then
Yeah,
again Shri Sham Kaur. Three.
Shampoo I knew
Eminent journalist.
personally.
Shri Jagannath Sothu, again a eminent journalist
Jagannath
of.
Sathu is somebody who's to be remembered. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Mm.
He would represent in the earlier part Daily Telegraph London and New York Times, and then in his later part Deccan Herald till his death. Also, I have written on such people also.
That's so
Then I
wonderful.
have attacked Farooq Abdullah several times and many times along with Mehbooba Mufti without any. Though, I will say, I traveled with him in his van in Z plus security. Very nicely, he was very nice to me and very nice. He never said anything about what I wrote about him. So, sir, that has been.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I wish you all the best for your pursuits. You compile up your books. I don't compile mine. I want others to compile. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
You
you. I
came.
hope that I did my best to just say what you
No,
wanted
no,
to
no,
say.
you said wonderfully. I mean, we had to collect at least we have revived the reminiscence of Nand Lal Wattal. That is something very important, very important. And people don't know our children. Like my father, nobody knows about him, but he was a great personality in his own time. But I will not highlight about. I want to highlight about these great people, like you said about Jagannath, Sathu, many people, many people. We must know what their contributions was. Even
Because
even even, even in Kashmir, I remember a small vendor Kashmiri Pandit vendor who was not educated in college, who didn't go to university, he was an institution in himself. I have seen many people over there in Kashmir. So we must remember it is a kind of a resurrection, it is a kind of a renaissance. That is the whole concept Shidla's conversation is based on.
because it has, I think lately, as you also know better, because you being very near to the valley than me,
Mm.
they are giving a twist to the history, as
That's
if
it.
Kashmiri Pandits have not contributed anything to the culture, socio-political life of valley. So I think
That
even
is because, yeah,
we are
that's a
not
tragedy.
giving any uh, s- strong reply to them. We are not giving it.
No,
They
actually,
have
yeah, I mean
they
they
have
cannot. History cannot be lied. You can lie it for some time. You can suppress it for some time. Reality comes. It will come. It will peek through because ultimately nature works at the larger canvas level. Thank you very much, Wadal Saab. You
Thank
came.
you very much.
Pleasure,
It has been a
pleasure,
very
pleasure, pleasure.
pleasant conversation.
Namaskar.
Thank you very much
All the
again.
best.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All the best.
Thank you very much. So that was Vijay Vatal, son of the illustrious journalist Poyney Nikpire, the earliest icon, the scribes of Kashmir, Nand Lal Vatal Saab. I think we could go and dive deep into the what Nand Lal Vatal was all about, his honesty. We could not actually completely bring him, but then again, I think this was the closest encounter because as a son, he was witness to him physically, he was witness to his work, and he must have heard anecdotes about him. So I think this was a great place. I remember one couplet again of Faz, नहीं निगाह में मंजिल तो जुस्तजू ही सही, नहीं निगाह में मंजिल. Vatal Saab, I mean, left in a very sad, not sad, in an objective note. So I would like to put this couplet of Faz, नहीं निगाह में मंजिल तो जुस्तजू ही सही, नहीं विसाल मयस्सर तो आरजू ही सही. So, with that, I would like to end today's program, and we'll definitely meet again. But I'm a Ghalib fan. I will not go without a Ghalib couplet. So, today's Ghalib couplet for all of you. गो हाथ को जुम्बिश नहीं, गो हाथ को जुम्बिश नहीं, आंखों में दम है, रहने दे अभी सागर मीना मेरे आगे. Thank you very much and good night. Best wishes. God bless you all.